Have you ever walked into a room and watched someone else walk in after you, and felt the difference immediately? The air changes around certain people. Conversations pause. Eyes shift. People sit up a little straighter. Nobody interrupts them. Nobody talks over them. Nobody plays games with them. And here's what's strange: they didn't threaten anyone. They didn't raise their voice. They didn't flash money or status. They just arrived. Now think about the opposite. Think about the person who gets interrupted constantly, whose opinions get dismissed, whose kindness gets exploited, who says no, and people negotiate anyway, who sets a boundary, and people test it anyway, who works twice as hard for half the respect. Maybe that person has been you. Maybe it still is. If so, you are not broken. You are not unlucky. You are not too sensitive. You simply were never shown the truth that Friedrich Nietzsche understood more than a century ago. A truth so uncomfortable that most people spend their entire lives avoiding it. Today we are going to go deep. Not surface-level motivation, not believe in yourself advice. We are going to dissect the exact psychology of untouchable people, why they exist, how they think, what they've mastered that most people never will. Stay until the end, because the final lesson is the one that changes everything. 1. The signal you broadcast without knowing it. Before a single word is spoken, a calculation has already happened. Nietzsche believed, and modern psychology has since confirmed, that human beings are extraordinarily sensitive to power signals. Not wealth, not aggression, not popularity, power. And power is not what most people think it is. It is not loudness, it is not size, it is not title. Power, in the Nietzschean sense, is self-possession. The sense that a person belongs entirely to themselves. Every human being broadcasts a signal, constantly, without choosing to. It lives in how you hold your body when someone challenges you. It lives in whether you fill silence with nervous words or let it breathe. It lives in whether your eyes stay steady when someone tries to intimidate you. It lives in the microsecond hesitation, or lack of it, when you make a decision. People around you are running a silent, unconscious calculation every single moment. Can I test this person? What will it cost me if I do? The people nobody messes with have already answered that question before the conversation starts. Their answer is written in how they carry themselves. And everyone around them reads it without realizing they're reading anything at all. The uncomfortable truth? You are broadcasting a signal right now. The question is what it says. 2. Why most people invite disrespect without knowing it. This is the section most people will resist, because it requires accepting something painful. Nietzsche had no patience for victimhood, not because suffering isn't real, but because he believed that most suffering is the result of an unconscious choice. The choice to prioritize being liked over being respected. Think about the behaviors most people normalize. Apologizing when you've done nothing wrong. Over-explaining decisions that require no explanation. Laughing nervously when someone disrespects you. So the moment doesn't become uncomfortable. Saying yes when every part of you means no. Giving people 10 chances when they deserve to lose their first. Shrinking your personality so others feel comfortable. Dimming your confidence so others don't feel threatened. None of these feel like weakness in the moment. They feel like politeness, like maturity, like keeping the peace. But Nietzsche would call them something else entirely. He would call them ressentiment, a French word used to describe the psychology of those who have surrendered their power and then quietly resent everyone who hasn't. The person who never speaks up then boils with anger that nobody listens. The person who never holds a boundary then feels betrayed when people cross them. The person who never asks for what they need then feels invisible when nobody provides it. This is not bad luck. This is a pattern. And the terrifying thing about patterns is that they repeat, not because the world is cruel, but because the world is consistent. The world responds to what you show it. Show uncertainty, it circles you. Show clarity, it steps back. 3. The will to power is not what you think. When people hear Nietzsche's concept of the will to power, they imagine something violent, domination, control, aggression. This is a fundamental misreading. The will to power is not the desire to overpower others. It is the drive to overcome yourself, to become more fully, more completely, more unapologetically who you are. The people nobody tests are not bullies. Most of them are remarkably calm. Many of them are generous. Some are even gentle. But they have done something most people never do. They have gone to war with themselves and won. They have faced their fears and not looked away. They have confronted their weaknesses and worked through them. They have sat with discomfort until it stopped having power over them. This is what Nietzsche meant by the sovereign individual. A person who has so thoroughly mastered their inner world that the outer world loses its ability to destabilize them. And here is the brutal reality. People can feel this. They cannot explain it. They cannot name it. But they feel it the moment they're in the room with someone who has done this work. And instinctively, unconsciously, they treat that person differently. Not with fear, with respect. The kind that cannot be demanded, only earned. 4. The predatory nature of human testing. Nietzsche was not romantic about human nature. He looked at it clearly, without flinching, and described what he saw. And what he saw was this. Human beings test each other constantly. Not always consciously, not always with malicious intent, but constantly. A small comment to see how you react. A slight disrespect to measure whether you'll push back. A broken promise to see whether there's a consequence. A joke at your expense to see whether you'll laugh along or hold your ground. These are not accidents, they are calibrations. The wolf in nature does not attack the strongest deer in the herd. It watches, it circles, it looks for the one that hesitates, the one that flinches, the one that breaks formation. Humans are no different. Not because people are evil, but because this behavior is ancient and instinctive. We are all, unconsciously, sorting each other into categories. Who is safe to challenge? Who is not? The person nobody tests has passed every calibration. Not by winning a fight, but by never giving the signal that testing would be worth attempting. 5. The power of needing nothing. This is the concept that separates the truly untouchable from everyone else. And it's paradoxical, which is why most people miss it. The people nobody dares to challenge are not the most powerful in the room in terms of status. They're not always the wealthiest, not always the most successful, not always the most physically imposing. They are the ones who need the least. Not financially, psychologically. They have built their inner world so completely, so solidly, that they do not need your validation to feel valuable. They do not need your approval to feel confident. They do not need your friendship to feel whole. They do not need the room's attention to feel present. Nietzsche called this self-overcoming. The process of building yourself into something that depends on no external source for its sense of worth. And this creates something invisible but enormous. It removes all leverage. Think about it. If you need someone's approval, they have power over you. If you fear someone's rejection, they have power over you. If you need to be liked by the room has power over you. But the person who genuinely, deeply needs none of these things, nobody has leverage over them. And people feel this instantly. You cannot manipulate someone who wants nothing from you. You cannot destabilize someone who is already completely stable. This is not coldness. It is not arrogance. It is the most radical form of inner freedom. 6. Why selective kindness is more powerful than universal kindness. Here is where Nietzsche's philosophy gets most misunderstood. Some people hear these ideas and conclude, be harsh, be cold, push people away. This is wrong, and it is weak. True power is not coldness, it is selectivity. The person who is warm with everyone, trusting with everyone, available to everyone, is not generous. They are unguarded, and the world does not reward the unguarded. It exploits them. But the person who is selective, who gives their warmth only once it is earned, their trust only once it is demonstrated, their time only to those who value it, that person creates something extraordinary. Scarcity. When your respect is difficult to earn, it becomes precious. When your time is not freely available, people value it. When your attention must be deserved, people work for it. When your warmth is selective, receiving it means something. This is not manipulation. This is standard. the highest standard of self-respect, and people who have never received it from you. They sense it. They feel that there is a bar, and most of them unconsciously begin trying to clear it. 7. The discipline of non-reaction. Of all the things that make certain people untouchable, this is the one that shocks people most: their stillness. In a world where everyone reacts, where every provocation gets a response, every insult gets a comeback, every slight gets an argument, the person who simply does not react becomes almost mythological. Nietzsche understood that reaction is submission. Every time you react defensively, you are confirming that the other person had the power to reach you. Every time you explain yourself to someone who disrespected you, you are auditioning for their approval. Every time you argue with someone who diminishes you, you are treating their opinion as worth fighting. The sovereign individual does not react. They decide. There is a difference. Enormous in practice, almost invisible from the outside, reaction is automatic. It comes from fear, from ego, from the need to defend. Decision is chosen. It comes from clarity, from values, from knowing exactly what you will and will not tolerate. When someone disrespects the untouchable person, they don't escalate, they don't beg, they don't argue, they don't explain. They simply, and this is terrifying to witness, become calm. And then they act accordingly. Once, without drama, the consequence arrives not as anger, but as reality. And reality, delivered calmly, is the most powerful force in any human interaction. 8. The architecture of an untouchable life. So how is this actually built? Not as a performance, as a practice. Nietzsche was not interested in theory without application. He believed philosophy that doesn't change how you live is decoration. So here are the 7 principles, not as motivation, but as architecture. The actual structure of how untouchable people build themselves. Principle 1, they know exactly who they are. Not who they want to be perceived as, who they actually are, their values, their limits, their non-negotiables. This clarity is the foundation of everything. You cannot defend a boundary you haven't defined. Principle 2, they let consequences do the talking. They don't warn repeatedly. They don't threaten. They don't beg for compliance. When a line is crossed, there is a consequence. Delivered once, calmly, completely. No second speech, no third chance unless it's genuinely earned. Principle 3, they are comfortable being misunderstood. This is perhaps the hardest one. Most people shrink, soften, over-explain, because they cannot bear being seen incorrectly. The untouchable person has made peace with this. They know who they are. Whether you understand that correctly is your work, not theirs. Principle 4, they curate their circle without apology. Access to them is earned. Proximity is decided, not default. They remove people who drain them, not with drama, not with announcements, simply by becoming less available. Distance is the quietest form of power. Principle 5, they master their reactions before mastering anything else. Physical presence, status, success, all of these mean nothing if one sharp comment can destabilize you. The person who controls their response in the hardest moment controls every room they ever enter. Principle 6, they invest in themselves relentlessly, not for others to notice. Because Nietzsche's sovereign individual believes one thing above all else. The most important project of your life is becoming more fully yourself. Skills, discipline, health, knowledge, inner work, not to impress, to compound. Principle 7, they are indifferent to approval, not hostile to connection. This is the most nuanced point. Being untouchable does not mean being alone. It does not mean being cold. It means that connection is chosen, not needed. That warmth is given, not leaked. That friendship is built, not performed. 9. The final truth Nietzsche left us. He wrote that what defines the highest human being is not their talent, not their intelligence, not even their strength. It is this, the degree to which they have ceased to be defined by others. The person nobody tests is not feared. They are recognized. Recognized as someone who has done the work most people refuse to do, who has faced themselves honestly, Who has stopped apologizing for existing? Who has decided, without negotiation, who they are and shown up as that person, consistently, regardless of who is watching? This is not a performance you put on. This is a person you build, slowly, daily, without applause. And here is the quiet, brutal beauty of it. You don't have to announce it when it's done. The room will announce it for you. Strong people build themselves. Others wait to be given permission. Stop waiting. If this video reached something in you, it's because you already sense the distance between who you are and who you are capable of being. If you want more content on the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, the psychology of power and self-mastery, human behavior, deep personal development, and the invisible dynamics that determine how the world treats you, subscribe now, because understanding yourself is the beginning of everything.